I've had a few comments and questions on my YouTube channel in some of my videos asking how exactly I buy and ship fabrics to manufacturers, how that process goes, why I do it, all that sort of thing. So I thought in this video I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to cover it all, talk to you guys about the process and all of that good stuff. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Taddy G, and on this channel I basically dive into what it's truly like to run a clothing brand here in the UK, as well as drop in tips, tricks, gems and all of that good stuff. And recently I launched my starter kit, which is a full-on guide which will help you start your very own clothing brand, especially if you're somebody that wants to start but has little to no idea as to where to start, or you want just that little bit of guidance. So I will have the starter kit linked in my description. So firstly, why do I even choose to send fabric to my manufacturer? It's not that the manufacturer that I work with is a cut, make, trim manufacturer. For those of you that don't know what cut, make, trim is, it's basically a manufacturing company that only solely does cut, make, trim. So they cut the fabric, make the garment, and do the finishing touches like trimming the thread, all of that stuff. So manufacturers like that require you to actually send them fabrics, patterns, construction details and all of that stuff. My manufacturer isn't that type of manufacturer, but still I opt into sending her some of the fabrics that I use for my clothing brand. And some of the reasons for that are the fact that when we were both looking for the different types of fabric that I wanted for my clothing brand, we were exploring what was the best option for this particular garment. So when I was creating my first collection, I basically told her exactly what I wanted created. So I wanted t-shirts, hoodies, a tracksuit and a silk set. So I needed to source t-shirt fabric, hoodie fabric, tracksuit fabric and silk. So in terms of my t-shirt, we found that the cotton that I found here in the UK actually worked out to be a lot cheaper than the fabric that she had found in Italy. Also, she couldn't quite find the fabric to the spec that I wanted it to be, which was around about that 250 to 300 GSM weight mark, and it being 100% cotton. So obviously we weighed up the options and we decided to go for, I decided to go for my fabric provider here in the UK and send them rolls of this fabric, which I'm going to dive into a little later, like how I carried out that process. When it came to the silk, the reason why I sourced this fabric myself was because honestly the silk in Italy is incredibly expensive. Like the silk was stunning, but it was so expensive, and that was just it as a plain fabric, and I wanted to have it printed. So I explored Alibaba for my silk. I looked for companies that would be able to provide the silk and print the silk as well, and it just worked out to be a lot cheaper to go down that route as opposed to looking for the silk in Italy. It also meant that my silk was going to be printed by experts, so my manufacturer wasn't really able to find a company that was going to be able to print the silk in the way that I wanted it to be printed. So I opted again for my fabric to be printed by a provider that I found on Alibaba, and that company was based in China and they actually specialize in silk fabric and printing silk fabric. So I thought that this was a good way to go. The final reason why I opted to send some of my fabrics to my manufacturer myself was literally based on minimum order quantity. So a lot of the companies that my manufacturer found, their minimum order quantity for like custom printed fabric or custom color fabric was really high, and obviously I was only producing a relatively small amount of pieces, so I couldn't go for those high minimum order quantities. So that is another reason why I had to look elsewhere. So I'm gonna cover two routes of getting your fabric to your manufacturer. The second route I haven't actually used for fabric, I've used it for zips, but it would work in the same way. So route number one is the route that I used for my t-shirt fabric. One of the main reasons why I opted for this route was cost, and honestly the t-shirt fabric in the UK, this cotton, it was nice. and I really liked it. So those were the two main reasons. So the first thing I did was I ordered fabric from this store. So I ordered like a meter in the scour fabric that I work with and a meter in the black, along with the ribs for both. And I just had a look at it and I looked at whether I liked it, liked how it felt, liked how it washed, all of that good stuff. I didn't actually receive swatches. I just went ahead and ordered like a meter of each, and the meter that they sent me was a little over a meter. So I was then able to send this fabric to Italy so that I could have the samples made for the t-shirts, and that's the only way you can truly see whether you actually like the fabric, when it's actually been made into the garment. So sending that fabric over to Italy, because it's such a small quantity, it's much easier. You can literally just use any shipping company. It's probably going to set you back around about 15-20 pounds, something like that. So that's what I did at first. In terms of getting the fabric from the UK supplier to me, it cost me £6.50. So once I received the samples of this t-shirt in this fabric, along with my other samples of course, I went ahead and ordered the bulk order of that fabric. Unfortunately, the 250 GSM I had initially ordered and used for my samples was discontinued, and they only had the 300 GSM. So I think I actually ordered a sample of the 300 GSM to just have a look at it, and then I went ahead and ordered the bulk of my cotton fabric. So we actually came on these long like rolls that were wrapped in plastic. So obviously when it arrived in rolls, I was thinking, oh my goodness gracious me, like how am I gonna ship these massive rolls to Italy? Have I really thought this through? Is this really saving me money? I don't know. Before I even ordered those rolls, I did ask my manufacturer how many meters I would need for the amount of garments that I needed to have manufactured, and then of course I ordered just that little bit more, just to make sure that I'm getting the amount of pieces that I want, you know, to take into account any mistakes that could be made. So that's a major key. Always make sure you ask whoever's making the garment for you how much fabric you're actually going to need. So those rolls of fabric were shipped to me for £6.50 as well. So upon doing my research, I found that DPD Local was the company that I was going to use to ship these rolls of fabrics to Italy, and that was because their cost was decent and they actually catered to shipping that sort of shape. So they have this option where it's like, is your parcel more than 1 meter? And I was like, yes it is. So I actually put in my details as, you know, the parcel is 1.5 meters and the other measurements were around about like 40 centimeters, because obviously like it was a roll. So DPD actually came to collect the rolls from my house. I just left them in the packaging that the fabric company had sent them in, and I just trusted that everything was well. There was no way I was going to open it and unravel it, because you know when you open something you're never going to get it back packaged the way it was. So I just left it like that. I did, you know, take a peek to make sure the color was right, but I just left it like that. I estimated the weight of the rolls, and the way I did this was by taking the GSM and multiplying it by the amount of meters that I actually got, and then I added like a little bit to take into account, you know, the stick that they stick through it and also the plastic. So that's how I calculated the weight. One roll arrived to Italy fine and dandy, like no issues there. The other roll like went missing for a bit and we just didn't understand where it was. At one point I believe the delivery company said that it was being shipped back to me, and I was like, why is it being shipped back to me? It never arrived back to me though. My manufacturer just ended up emailing me like randomly one day and being like, oh, the second roll has showed up. So there was a little bit of shakiness when it came to the rolls actually arriving, and I think that was literally due to customs. Shipping before Brexit used to be so seamless, so simple, but ever since, you know, we came out of the EU, shipping to Europe is so complicated. Customs is whatever they decide they want it to be, and I believe I paid £70 in customs for those 2 rolls of fabric. But yeah, the fabric did make it to my manufacturer, and it is a route that I have taken and I have done time and time again for my t-shirts, for my clothing brand. So the second route that you can take is the Alibaba route. I'm just gonna call it the Alibaba route. It's not actually called the Alibaba route. So that's basically where you get Alibaba to just send the fabric directly to the manufacturer in whatever country that you're manufacturing in, and it works. They are happy to do it, and it saves you from paying the shipping fee to you and then the shipping fee to the other country and the custom fees to the two countries, because you're going to pay the customs fee to get the fabric to you, and then you're going to pay the customs fee to get the fabric to the other country. So in this case, what I have done with my zips and what I would do with my fabric is that I would order the fabric sample and have that shipped to me, see it, observe it, make sure it's perfect, especially if it's like printed fabric, make sure it's all well and good. What I would then do is ship that fabric to, like, that fabric sample, probably half it so that I have a bit of it as well, half it, ship that fabric sample to Italy, yeah, so that my manufacturer can have the sample that I have okayed. So this is the final sample, and I would do this so that when my manufacturer receives the bulk order of the fabric, they know what it's supposed to look like and what they are supposed to be comparing it to, so that the Alibaba supplier don't do any like nonsense. So once we're happy with the sample, my manufacturer has received her little sample swatch, I would then go ahead and place the order on Alibaba with the delivery address being my manufacturer in Italy. So when I did it for the zippers, the price pretty much worked out to be the same, say if I shipped it here, but I believe when I shipped it to Italy, there wasn't a customs fee, so it actually saved me like a little bit of money. So obviously it cuts down on time, it cuts down on money, just getting Alibaba to just ship your fabric or whatever it is directly to your manufacturer. And if I'm ordering anything on Alibaba, this is the route that I'm going to take. Of course, it takes a little bit of trust in trusting that the supplier on Alibaba is actually going to fulfill their duty in shipping something that is of the quality that they promised you. It takes a bit of trust, but in the end, it does save you a bit of time and a bit of money. I hope that answers your questions about shipping fabric to your manufacturer, that process, why I do it, and all of that good stuff. Like mentioned at the beginning of this video, I do have my starter kit, which I will have linked in the description. Guys, I want to say thank you for watching this video. I will catch you guys in my very next video.